Namaste. We now enter a new phase in the study of the Sti Dharma Paddhatih. Up until now, the rituals and the rules prescribed were for sanctifying the entrance of the home and the home itself. The Dehli Puja, the Rangavalli, smearing of cow dung, all these were to create an environment of auspiciousness in the home so that a woman can proceed in her path of sadhana. Just like the home is purified and made suitable for adhyatmic sadhana. Now we will see how the body itself can be made suitable for sadhana. So chapter 9 onwards, we are looking at the rituals that go into bringing the body into a state of ritual purity. What that even means will be understood as we go through these chapters. In this talk, we will discuss chapter 9 of the Sti Dharma Paddhatih part 1, which is titled Śauca Chara and Mutra Purishotsargaḥ. This pertains to the rules around urination, defecation, and maintaining ritual purity, the purificatory rites after these processes. In the original manuscript, there are about 12 verses just on this section. That is how important it is. In this talk, we will cover around 6 to 7 of the verses. The remaining can be understood easily by reading the book. What we are going to discuss here are those verses which might require some extra explanation to be clear. The shastras are called sacred texts because they talk about those things which have adrishta reasons behind it. Adrishta means that which cannot be perceived easily by the five senses. If the rules in the shastras were simple day-to-day obvious things, they would not amount to sacred texts. That is why, even though this chapter is about so-called toilet etiquettes, it is much more deeper when we understand how these activities impact the subtle body, the sukshma sharira. We will look at different verses of this book and then talk a little bit about why those verses are mentioned. Let's look at the first verse itself, which will explain to us the importance of understanding Śaucachara rules. The verse says, Noparuddaha kriyam chare, diti vachanena mutradyuparuddhasya kriyanadhikara darshanat dutsargaḥ kartavyah. That which is forbidden should not be done. This statement implies that one should not perform an activity by controlling urination or defecation. Hence, that should be addressed first. Then the very last verse of this section says, Śaucachara vihinasya samasta nishfalaha kriyaha. All religious actions of one who does not follow Śauca are fruitless. These two verses, the very first and the very last, give us an idea of the importance of Śauca. Typically, in English, when we translate Śauca and Aśauca, we refer to it as pure and impure, or polluted and free from pollution, and so on. Because if you look at the Sanskritam meanings of this, what is referred to as Aśauca? When a woman menstruates, the time period just after delivering a baby, and when any human urinates or defecates, all these phases are considered as Aśauca periods. What does that mean? What is common to all these phases? To know that, we must understand a little bit about the 5 types of vayus in the human body. Vayus are also called pranas sometimes. So there are 5 types of pranas, pancha pranas. 4 operate in the region above the navel and 1 operates in the region below the navel. Above the navel, we have the main is called prana, and the subtype is also called, one of them is called pranavayu. So do not get confused about it. We have to understand it based on the context. So above the navel, there is pranavayu, udanavayu, vyanavayu, samanavayu. Below the navel, there is apanavayu. Now, to simplify matters, many people will just overall say that there is the upper prana and the lower apana. A healthy functioning of the human body means that there is a good balance between these 2 pranas. Upper prana moves upwards and the lower apana moves downwards. And that is not disturbed in any way for a human to be considered as healthy and ritually pure. Now, why do the shastras say that there is a period of ashauca? Ashauca refers to those instances where the apana, the lower apana, is naturally dominant compared to the upper prana. This happens during all the days of menstruation. For the menstrual blood to go down and out of the female body, Apana vayu has to be active because that is what governs the movement of the menstrual blood. Similarly, for delivering the child through natural birthing and the time period soon after that, there is a natural dominance of Apana vayu which has been vitiated due to the action of delivering the child. So that time also we consider as ashaucha. Anytime a human urinates or defecates, for the duration of that action, there is ashaucha, because for that action to happen, apanavayu has to be active. Apanavayu can be understood as the sort of a gravitational force within the human body, because all the activities that move downward and outward from the body are governed by apanavayu. Whenever apanavayu is active, we must be aware that the Muladhara, Swadhisthana are active. These are 2 of the lower chakras. And consequently, the vibration of the whole body will be that of the Muladhara and Swadhisthana, which is of the lowest frequency compared to the other chakras and the rest of the body. For any religious activity, whether it is lighting a lamp, or chanting a mantra, or doing a puja, the upper prana has to be used. And men have to raise their body's vibration to that suitable to their varna before doing the religious activity. So that is why for men, the Shaucha rules are extremely important. For women and the Shudra Varna, because our natural vibration is of the Muladhara and Swadhisthana, we don't need that much of Shaucha rules as the men of the first 3 Varnas. And for us, only half the Shaucha rules are enough. That is why in the Sti Dharma Paddhatih, smearing the cow dung, doing the Dehli Puja, Rangoli, all this comes before the chapter on Shauchachara. So for women, after they wake up, if they just wash their face and their hands, they are actually ready because ritual purity is already there in them because the body is naturally at a lower vibrational state. Not so for the Dvija men. They have to do a lot more purification before they are ready for puja. Some women have asked if the Dehli puja can be done before bathing. The drawing of the Rangavalli, swastika, smearing cow dung, cleaning the home, all this can be done before. In fact, while cleaning the home and drawing the Rangavalli, if women sit in the Malasana position, that helps to bring the Apana vayu ready to empty the bowels. So these activities can even be done before relieving oneself if there is no urge to relieve oneself. But the arati and invocation of Mahalakshmi through Sankalp. Let's do that after bathing because that requires the use of the higher pranas. So, when we try to do a puja or a ritual before doing the proper Śauca rules, then it is the lower prana and therefore a lower vibration that is present in the body and is transferred to everything that we touch. That is why the shastras say that before doing Śauca, all rituals will be fruitless because it is a very low vibration that we are transferring to it. At the same time, within the body also, when the Apana vayu is active or when there is an urge to urinate or defecate, the Apana has to be allowed to go down and out. At such a time, if we try to force it upwards by doing mantra japa or meditation or any of the sadhana practices, then we create a lot of problems within the body. That is why whether it is the outward ritual or the body of the performer, both suffer when Śauca rules are not followed properly. And that is the importance of this very chapter on properly following Śauca rules. Now let's come to the next verse, which explains how one should go about attending nature's call in such a way that it has the least difficulty. The verse says, Tatra prakara mahangiraha utthaya paschime ratrau tata achamya chodakam antardhaya trinair bhumim shiraha pravritya vasasa vacham niyamya yatnena shtivanochwasa varjitaha kuryan mutra purishe tu shuchau deshe samahitaha. This means Angiras defines the process. After waking up in the last hours of the night, that is the Brahma Muhurtam, one should perform achaman, spread grass on the ground in a clean location. This refers to the times when open defecation was permitted. Cover the head, stop chatting, that is keep the mouth closed, stop salivating and breathing, and then urinate or defecate. One should perform urination and defecation in a clean place with concentration. Now, the explanation of how the shastras and why the shastras have suggested the toilets to not be constructed inside the home, and in fact, not even in the village. In fact, it was out of the village. The reason for these things has been explained in the book, and those who are interested to know more about that can read the book. Now we will talk about what is relevant to our times. That is, we have toilets inside the home itself. There's nothing that can be done about it. So within the limitations of our current scenario, how can we go about relieving ourselves in the way that is the least trouble causing? First thing is wake up at Brahma Muhurtam. When they say the last part of the night, it means 1.5 to 2 hours before sunrise. This is the time of Brahma Muhurtam. As discussed in the earlier chapter on Prabodhanam, this is the time when the lower vayus are more active and prana more easily flows in the colon. Therefore, it is the ideal time to relieve oneself without depending on external things like tea, coffee, etc. So the first thing is wake up and attempt to relieve oneself 2 hours before sunrise, which we call the Brahma Muhurtam. Then it says cover the head. This is especially important for men who may be doing a lot of sadhana, and therefore there is a natural surge of prana going to the top of the head. To send prana back down, to facilitate the lower pranas, it is said, cover the head during this process. Then it says, stop chatting, that is, keep the mouth closed. Now, if you look at the subtler reasons for it, there is one nadi. Nadi is a subtle channel which carries prana. There is a nadi which connects the mouth to the excretory organ or the anus. This is called the Alambusha Nadi. If prana has to flow towards the excretory organ, then we should not use this nadi for talking. So when the mouth is kept shut, prana flows through this alambusha nadi downwards to facilitate the excretory process. Then it says stop salivating and breathing. These processes require the upper vayus, the upper pranas to be active. When the lower apana has to be active, then temporarily we must pause these activities which require the upper pranas. Now, we may wonder, are these things even to be spelt out? Isn't it obvious? We just have to remember that until very recently, a lot of people had the habit of carrying newspapers to the toilets, and they would stay there for sometimes up to an hour. When the mind is engaged in reading or doing something else, then how can the prana go downwards? Today, many people have the habit of carrying the mobile phones into the toilets. All these things delay the process. That is why follow the shastras. Complete the task with full focus and concentration without allowing the upper pranas to be active during this process. That is what is meant here. Now, we look at the verses pertaining to how one should clean themselves after attending nature's call. There are 3-4 verses here. We will look at them one by one. Anantaram gandhalepakshakaram shaucham kuryat तथा च गौतमः लेपगन्धापकर्षणे शौचममेधस्य तद्भिः पूर्वं मृदा चेति. Then one should clean the body parts till the foul smell leaves. Gautama says, clean the body parts until the foul smell disappears. Use water first and then soil or clay. So this is what the shastras had instead of the soaps and liquid solutions that we use today. First, the region was cleaned with water, and that was followed up with the use of soil. Now, this is not about just picking up the soil from wherever we find it. There is a process by which it was dried and cleaned and sieved. And specifically, it is mentioned in Ayurveda text, don't pick the soil from top. About 3 feet below the surface, the top soil had to be removed, and only then. And what type of soil? All this is detailed in the Ayurveda books. We have mentioned some of these things in the Sti Dharma Paddhatih. But given the kind of pollution that exists today, it is better not to try to pick up the soil straight away from the ground. If one finds processed soil sent or promoted by any of the Ayurveda outlets, then that can be considered. If not, a later verse in the same book mentions the use of powdered black gram, powdered urad dal. So instead of soil to clean oneself, they can also use powdered black gram. Why was soil used? Most of the problems pertaining to the genital region, they begin because of a disturbance or an imbalance in the pH. To maintain the natural pH of the body, these natural materials were used and not soaps. So that is what the Shastras say. First, clean the region with water and then with soil or black gram. Now, there's a next very important verse. Dharmavid dakshinam hastamadaha shauche na yojayet. Tathacha vama hastena nabherurdhvam na shodhayet. Which means, Devala states the rules for the usage of hands for cleansing. The one who knows dharma will not use the right hand to cleanse below the navel and will not use the left hand to cleanse above the navel. This means that the right hand is used to clean the parts of the body above the navel, and the left hand has to be used to clean the parts below the navel. Most Indians are familiar with this rule of not using the left hand for any auspicious activities and only to clean oneself after attending nature's call. This is not some irrational obsession. In this verse, the shastras are telling us that those who know dharma will never break this rule. If we think dharma is some moral code, then we will wonder what this verse even means. That's why the very first talk of the Stri Dharma, we have said the real meaning of dharma. Dharma means that which is natural to a person or any living creature, that which is natural to its biology. So here, dharma means making sure that we don't mess up the balance of prana and apana. The Ayurveda texts say that around 72,000 nadis originate just below the navel. Those nadis that carry prana upwards are distributed in the upper regions of the body. Those nadis that carry prana downwards are distributed in the lower regions of the body. If you see the upper region of the body, there is a particular prana circuitry. Prana enters through the left palm. Right here in the center of the palm is a minor chakra and also a marma that absorbs and takes in prana. This prana then flows to the heart. The heart is the seat of prana. From the heart also 101 nadis carry prana in the upper part of the body. Then from the heart, prana travels to the right hand and comes out through the center of the right palm. That is why if we have to do any auspicious work, we use the right hand so that we give prana. If you want to make a donation, do dana, use the right hand, give it with the right hand. So give prana. If we are taking something away, only then the left hand is used, and that's why it's considered inauspicious. When we do the namaste, which is a mudra, the namaste mudra, we close the prana circuit because only when the circuit is closed can the current flow. When both the hands are joined in the namaste mudra, the center of the heart, the anahata chakra, gently opens. It is the quality of the anahata chakra that allows us to see an other as part of ourselves. That is why the namaste has come to mean that we accept everyone around us as part of ourselves. For that bhava to happen, both the hands should come together. This sort of a namaste will not do. All these small actions are deeply rooted in the profound understanding of the subtle sciences. Coming back to cleaning oneself. The shastras are saying when the portion above the navel is cleaned, use the right hand, because here prana goes upwards, and using the right hand, we further supply prana to those nadis. When we have to clean the parts of the body that are below the navel, we use the left hand so that when prana is going out of the body, we reabsorb it into the left hand and bring it back into circulation within the body. Take a moment and think what will happen if this action was reversed. So it is necessary to train children from a very young age to use the right hand as mentioned in the shastras and the left hand too. If not, over a period of time, there could be all kinds of immunity-based problems because the balance of prana and apana gets upset. So this is the deeper understanding of this rule. Then the shastras say, Mrita Sankhya Maha Shata Tapaha Eka Linge Kare Swaye Tistrau Dve Hastayordvayoho Mutra Shaucham Samakhyatam Shukle Tu Dvigunam Bhavet Stri Shudrayor Dharmanam Shaucham Proktam Manishibhi Riti. Shata Tapa states the quantity of soil, 1 for the genitals, 3 for the left hand, and 2 each for both hands. This is the Śauca rule for urination. It is to be doubled for defecation. Scholars have stated that only half of Śauca acharas are applicable for women and Shudras. Please note, in this verse, there is a small error in the printing in the book. Please check this verse with this talk and make the correction. The 3 mentioned in this verse is for the left hand. In the book, it has been written as right hand. That is an error. Please make that correction. So here they are prescribing the quantity of the cleansing material, the soil or the black gram powder to be used. One verse before this mentions use that size which is of the size of a unripe gooseberry. That is 1 portion of it. So here they're saying use 1 portion of that for the genitals, 3 for the left hand, because the left hand is what is used in cleaning the region. And after that, 2 each for both the hands. And this is the process for urination. This has to be doubled for defecation, but for women and the Shudra Varna, only half of this is needed. Now, how do we understand this? The cleansing after water, when we use soil or any other material of a grainy texture, such as powdered black gram, then each time it is rubbed on the skin, if we are sensitive, we will notice that there is a change and an increase in the vibration. If you see the rules for brahmacharis, for sannyasis, for widows, they have to cleanse themselves many more times than a normal grihastha because their body has to vibrate at a much higher frequency. Even today, those who intuitively know this will never be satisfied with just rubbing themselves once, especially Brahmana men. People think that this is an obsession with cleanliness. It is not an obsession with cleanliness. It is just that they intuitively know when the body reaches its natural vibrational state. And until then, they will keep on scrubbing their body. So this is the way this rule has to be understood. It is intended to bring the body to its state of natural vibration. What is the vibration suitable to women and to men of each varna? To understand this, we must watch the videos on Varna Dharma. They are titled The Advanced Science of Varna Dharma. It is given in 2 parts in this channel, and those 2 videos must be watched to get a clearer understanding of how different vibrations correspond to different varnas. The final verse that we will discuss here is Tatra kramamaha vyasaha vitu chaucham prathamam kuryan mutra shauchamataha param pada shaucham tataha kuryat kara shauchamataha param iti. Vyasa states the order thus. First, clean the body parts used for defecation and urination, then the feet, and finally the hands. This is the order in which Śauca has to be done. Again, this is not about removing the external impurity. So even though we no longer do urination and defecation outside, and though it is indoors, and though one's hands and feet may not get soiled in the process, still, after urination and defecation, after cleaning the excretory region, we must first clean the feet and then the hands. This is to reset the natural flow of pranas. The tips of the fingers and the tips of the toe are the portions where many of the nadis end. When both the feet are washed with water, the balance of Ida and Pingala is restored and the lower pranas are first set in order. That's why the feet is first washed. And then when the hands are clean, the upper prana and ida and pingala in the upper part of the body are again brought back into equilibrium. This has to be followed every time after urination and defecation. After this, Achaman has to be performed to bring the body to its natural vibratory state, and we will discuss about Achaman in the next video. Typically, these toilet manners are taught to us by our mothers. But for all mothers also, there are the Rishi-s who acted like the mothers of all of human race, because only they could understand these sukshma vicharas. And with that understanding alone, these rules have been brought into place. To those Rishis of the human race, our original and our first mothers, Shri Matre Namaha.